G'day guys, Clarkey here with the wrap up of the round that was. I'm back, the videos are back. If you don't know, I was gone for the last month up in Queensland visiting my family. And in a quick reminder of why I hate technology, I was just at the 10-minute mark for this video and it bloody froze on me. So let's restart and repeat myself for 10 minutes, which should be absolutely fun. But I am thrilled to have the videos back. As you can see, I've put up all the jerseys behind me again, looking absolutely fine there. And if I can get my hands right, just there, brand new 2019 Titans jersey signed by almost the entire team. Just awesome. Let's get on to the footy, guys. Let's talk some footy. Tigers defeat the Rabbitohs 14-9 this last Thursday night. Now, I have to be honest, I wait all week for the football, so I love the Thursday night game because I've had 3 days off. And this was a very painful game to sit through, if I'm being honest. It was so hard to watch due to the errors from both sides, and neither side could really find their rhythm or their momentum as a result of that. It was a scrappy effort by both teams, and I'd like to say that the Tigers dragged the Rabbitohs down to their level, because we have seen the Tigers do that at times throughout the year, but I'm honestly not sure I can even believe that myself, because the Rabbitohs now have lost 4 in a row and they are just not themselves at the moment. So I'm really not sure what happened here. Let's put it down to the weather conditions, the dewy surface at Bankwest Stadium. Let's move on to the stat attack. We had 12 penalties, 25 errors combined from both sides. Now, that should say enough, but I'll put it into perspective. That is 37 stoppages in play. That is almost a stoppage every single minute of one of those halves, which is wow. I mean, we put it in perspective. I can't remember seeing that. It was just stop-start footy. It was crazy. Man of the match. How can I go past Michael Cheekham? That's the second time he's done it this year. The way he demands the ball and accelerates to speed, his change of direction for a back rower is just exceptional, and I was really impressed by that try. Rabbitohs I liked Adam Reynolds once again reminding us just how dangerous he is when it comes to field goals. Not that we needed a reminder if we think back to last year's finals game against the Dragons where he kicked 3, but he reminds us again. But then my like for the Tigers is Michael Cheekham, just reminding the Rabbitohs that 1 point isn't always enough in rugby league, and it's not over until the fat lady sings. That was an excellent try. We move on to Friday night. Now, the Dragons defeat the Cowboys 22-14, and I'll preface this by admitting I didn't get to watch too much of this game because I was travelling back from Queensland. Overall, on paper, and from what I did see, we had 2 very even sides competing here. And as I said, I think that's how they match up on paper. Also, the turning point and where I think the Cowboys sort of lost their way, particularly in attack, was when Michael Morgan went off with that head injury assessment. Obviously, he's their captain and so pivotal to everything they do there. And yeah, I don't think that helped them at all. Scott Drinkwater, my stat attack for the game. Something in my bloody eye. Yeah, Drinkwater. 1 try, 6 assist, 6 tackle breaks, 1 line break assist, and 121 run meters in his club debut. What a signing. The Cowboys have, for as long as I can remember this year, since Ben Barber got sacked, needed a world-quality fullback. And they have it in Scott Drinkwater. He was incredible. Incredible club debut, and the good news for Cowboys fans is he will only improve. We know how good he was in that Storm system, and I think that was just an incredible signing for the club. What did I like about the Cowboys, guys? Now, I say this every week, don't I? You already know what I'm about to say. I liked Jason Taumalolo, the best forward in the game, hands down. 237 meters and 37 tackles. If I had to start a franchise tomorrow, let's go. Clarkey has been appointed CEO of the new Perth team. Taumalolo is the first man I would target if I could bring over anyone, of course, in that sort of situation. Yeah, it'd have to be him, Kalen Ponga, and Damien Cook. They're the 3 players I'd target first, and Taumalolo just does it week in, week out. Dragons-like. Now, this is probably a little bit controversial here, guys, so particularly to Cowboys fans, you're not going to want to hear this, but in my opinion, I really liked that tackle of Tarek Sims on Michael Morgan. Now, there's no bias coming from this at all because I am a Queenslander. So obviously I would like to see Michael Morgan not injured, and Tariq Sims heads up for 3 games now. He might miss the State of Origin decider, so that's good for me as far as my passion goes for supporting teams, etc., etc. But I just can't see how he is facing 3 weeks for that tackle. And we have seen some really bad late shots over the years, and I understand the game's trying to crack down on them, but this was not that. This was almost, as soon as Michael Morgan had passed that ball, Tariq Sims was there, in his face, pressuring him, which is what you want from your back row. In the end, he forced a forward pass. He gets his team back the ball. He should be getting a pat on the back and be told that is an excellent tackle, good pressure. Instead, he's put on report and might miss the biggest game of the year, the Origin decider. And I don't think that's good enough. But yeah, controversial, but I did really like that tackle. The game of the round, the 2 premiership heavyweights, the Storm defeat the Roosters 14-12. They go at it again and put on a show. Now, again, both sides not at their best, but as I've said all year, I don't think either of these sides need to be anywhere near their best to defeat a lot of the competition there. But Roosters very far from their best now. 18 errors. The fact they only lost by 2 with 18 errors is pretty crazy. I mean, that's 11 more errors than the Storm made. And we'll get onto that in a little bit further as we move on to this stat attack from this game. 65% completion from the Roosters. Now, usually, that's just up over half your sets completed. You can't win games with that. But the Roosters very well almost did. I mean, they only lost by 2 to their arch rivals, or modern rivals, I would say, especially this year and last. And, I mean, 65% possession, 18 errors, and they only lost by 2, and I don't agree with the loss. I'll get on that a little bit later also. Man of the match, Ryan Pappenhausen, 1 try, 251 metres. Every single time this guy takes the field in the NRL, he seems to improve. Wow. I mean, the Storm's problem in coming years is going to be, how do we fit Pappenhausen and Jerome Hughes into this side? My Storm now, guys, I don't want to go down the negative road because I feel like there is too much negativity already covered in our sport. And that's why I like to finish, no matter what sort of opinions I have, I like to finish with a like from both teams. Something positive, a positive spotlight to finish. But for the first time this year, I'm going with a dislike, guys. Storm, dislike. Cameron Smith milking that penalty at the end. Now, from what I saw and from my opinion, I saw Cameron Smith step off the mark, I saw a loose carry, and I saw Victor Radley trying to get set at marker in front of where the ball should have been played. I don't agree with that decision to penalise Cameron Smith, but he bends the rule book better than any other player. I don't know how he does it, and he does get a lot of criticism for it. And I understand why he did it. You want to win, I get it, but when I see something like that, the passion spills over because that is not in the spirit of rugby league. I thought that was a really dirty move by Smith, but in the end, he got his team the win, which I suppose is why you play rugby league. So, I mean, half of you will probably agree with me and go, Clarkey, we absolutely agree. It was a dirty move. The other half will say, shut up, Storm one. So, I don't know. Let's move on to some positives. Roosters, I liked their fight defensively. Now, they had more tackles than the Storm, but 11 less missed, which is pretty spectacular given we know how dangerous the Storm are with the footy. And it was a good showing defensively for the Roosters. And for them to even stay in that game, given the deficiency in the stats there, was pretty incredible. Let's move on to probably the most frustrating game for me to watch all week. I'm not sure what was worse, guys. Game 2 in Perth for the Origin, being a Queenslander, or this. But you know what? I'll say the Origin was worse because it's a bigger game and we expect the Maroons to play well. Don't necessarily expect that from the Titans, unfortunately. Eagles defeat them by 18 points, 30-12. Now, this scoreline is actually very favourable and fortunate for the Titans because simply Manly blew them off the park. Manly could have been looking at a 60-0 score here if they kept their foot on the pedal, and obviously Curtis Sneerin, and they had a sin binning that didn't help either. But I mean, this just looked like boys versus men, and the Titans were definitely the boys. It was really frustrating to watch. But we'll go into the stats, guys, and here's where it gets scary for the Titans. There is no one dominant area there for Manly. They didn't dominate line breaks. They didn't dominate tackle breaks. They didn't dominate run meters, post-contact meters, offloads. There was nothing dominant. Sure, they won most of those areas, but we're talking slight margins. And that's where it's really concerning, and not only as a Titans fan, but for Titans as a whole, because that has to be mental. That has to be something wrong with your attitude to be beaten by 18 points despite the statistics of that game being so similar. Ultimately, I think what we saw was Manly were just able to capitalise on some exhausted Titans and some very poor goal line defence. My man of the match, hard to go past Curtis Sirenan. He scored 2 tries in his 100th game and ran for over 100 metres, did what you want from your back rower and more. Great performance by Ciro. Titans, the only really positive I could draw from this game was a Phillip Sammy double. He's very good offensively in attack and a very good finisher. Sea Eagles, what do I like? I didn't love it on Saturday, but I do love the killer mentality that they bring to each game. We are looking at a football team, guys, that Des Hasler has them buying into the culture and playing for each other. And that is why no matter how many injuries this Manly team gets, they will continue to win games. And I just think that's remarkable, and we don't see enough of it in the modern game. Now, we move on to the new graphics, guys. Tell me what you think about these. I've done these up, and this is what I'm going to be using now for halftime, full-time. So I think it looks a lot better. I mean, the last one there, you can see it's just very bland, just two players there side by side, but we go into this one, and I think, personally, I think she's a beauty, but do let me know in the comments section below, as I have lost where I am. Let's go Eels versus the Raiders, guys. So 22-16. How good was it to see some top end footy live from Darwin? How good? I don't know if it's just me or not, but I did a 6-month deployment up there with the Navy, and I was on there with all my best mates, and it was the best 6 months of my life. Darwin is one awesome place. We had over 5,300 people to the game, which is not too bad for TIO Stadium. But I will say this was a very scrappy game of footy. And players afterwards were commenting that the ball was super sweaty. And I mean, if you've ever been to Darwin, I don't really blame them. I mean, when I was up there, I know certainly we'd play a game of cricket or whatever, and you'd only last a couple overs because it is that hot. And I can't imagine playing 80 minutes of professional rugby league there at all. So, bravo to the players, but I will say Jack White, he had 5 costly errors for the Raiders. Hodgson had 2 as well, and I think Caesar and Nickel Clogstad were without errors. But yeah, a few errors there from the Raiders' spine didn't really help them find the momentum in the game. And I think what we were looking at there was probably more so the Raiders playing poor, as opposed to saying, wow, the Eels were exceptional, if you know what I mean there. So let's go on to the stat. Reid Marnie, 61 tackles in the Northern Territory Heat. That's a really big effort from the young 21-year-old. Really big effort there. My man of the match now. It's unusual to give man of the match to someone from the other team, guys, but I'm going to go with Chance Nickel Clogstad here. In a losing effort, he was just simply brilliant. He had 1 try, 27 runs for 290 metres, 5 tackle breaks, 1 line break, and 0 errors. My Raiders like Chance Nickel Clogstad. I just spoke on him, but I do believe he is one of the game's best fullbacks, and I love the way he's taken this opportunity this year. He's gone from a reserve grade outside back at the Warriors, unable to get a look in, to one of the best fullbacks we have in our game, which is just awesome. And Eels, I liked Moses running the football. I think when he runs the footy, he's at his most dangerous. I mean, that should go without saying for most halfbacks, but I think in particular that applies with Mitch Moses. We have missed a game, and we have indeed, as I go back a page, I do apologise for that, guys. The Knights defeat the Brisbane Broncos 26-12. Now, this was a pretty entertaining game, and realistically, it was probably another game where the Knights just blew the Broncos off the park. But I don't know how to say this without sort of sounding very against the Broncos, given I am wearing Titans gear here. But it was my opinion, guys, that the referee was trying to play the Broncos back into that game. There was so many dubious penalties against the Knights, and then that second half sin binning of James Gavate. How long does the warning last for, guys? Because let's say you give 5 penalties on your own try line in the first 10 minutes, and then you go squeaky clean up until the last 10 minutes, and you give another penalty halfway. because that's sort of what we saw there. I mean, they got the warning in the first half, fair enough, but surely the halftime break, we've moved on from that, right? Not what we saw. I thought that was really weird, but I did love the energy the Knights brought out, and I really loved, you could hear the Knights crowd. They were so vocal through my television. They were loud and proud, and I feel like their team was able to grab that energy and just run away with this game and blow the Broncos off the park. Now, again, guys, you know I'm not into player bashing, but Darius Boyd, I've got to bring up some of these stats to be really fair to the Broncos, because as far as possession goes, they had 10% more than the Broncos. It was 55-45, so they should have had probably more points than 12. One line engagement from Darius Boyd, 3 missed tackles, 27 kick meters. Now, I feel when you're the 5/8 of your side, the other team has a man down, and you're on $1 million, and I know it's not fair to bring that up because he didn't choose to sign for that. The Broncos chose to sign him for that, etc. And you're the captain. That's the biggest point here. You sort of need to put your hand up and play a little bit better, I felt, than Darius Boyd did. I don't know. Last year we saw Brandy say Jonathan Thurston looks like a player that's gone around one too many years. If Brandy wants a target for 2019, then yeah, I think you've got your man in Darius Boyd. Really disappointing football being played by him all season. Man of the match, David Clemmer. Look, there's rumours floating Freddie will not pick him in the side. The side will be announced by the time you'll be watching this, hopefully. So you'll know yourself whether that's true or not. But if he doesn't pick him, that's just crazy. He was one of their best forwards in Game 1, and he's just come back in his first game with painkilling injections, mind you. 205 meters, 85 of those post-contact. My God, that is some serious leg drive, guys. That's almost half his meters were made once the defense has contacted him, and David Clemmer says, nah, come along for a ride. Entry is free. And 42 tackles as well, just incredible. Broncos I really liked Milford at fullback. I feel like that's his natural position, and I think he will only improve the more games he goes back there in this Broncos system. Knights I really like Jesse Ramien's try to seal it, going over the top of Darry B, and then the offload back inside. I just think Ramien is an exceptional player, and that was certainly an awesome try to watch. As I flip my paper, guys, if you could just stay with me for 1 second. Let's go back to the Panthers and Eels. Sorry, what am I saying? Panthers and Warriors. We have, my bad, Sunday afternoon football. Been talking for too long, 17 minutes. If you're still here, thank you so much, and hopefully you are enjoying some of the crap that comes out of my mouth. So we got Panthers. This was a pretty fun game of football to watch, and you know, in the end, I think the Panthers did really well. They were down to 11 men at one stage, and I thought at stages through the game where there were some tough calls against them. In particular, the David Fusatua try. I mean, there's a lot of angles to look at, Bunker, and we would rather sit there and be forced to watch replay after replay if it means getting the correct decision than rushing and getting it wrong, because it is inexcusable with hundreds of different camera angles to miss David Fusatua's hand clearly down and out before he grounds the ball. So yeah, the Panthers were hard done by at stages throughout this game. 54 missed tackles for Panthers, 11 penalties, 9 errors. Now, given they were down to 11 men as well, compiled with those very poor stats, I mean, over 50 missed tackles has been their problem all year, but they had no right to win, but they did, because this is a desperate football side, and desperate footy teams can do amazing things, like win 5 in a row, just as Jimmy Maloney is holding up there with his hand. I believe it's 5 in a row. It could be 4, but 5 in a row if it is. I mean, incredible. Man of the match, I've gone with Brent Nadden from the Panthers. Now, 2 tries, and both were spectacular. The first one, he flies through the air, catch and spin, boom, try. And the second one, he just blows the game open and runs the field. And I loved watching that. I mean, he's an incredible player. Panthers, what did I like? I like Jimmy Maloney sealing the field goal to win the game. I mean, who else after the fortnight he's had, especially over in Perth? And the Warriors, I thought Carl Lawton was very good at hooker, and I do think he will only continue to grow and progress as a player. I think he's got a lot of upside left in his career. As we move on to the final game of the round, guys, the Canterbury Bulldogs pull up a massive upset over the Cronulla Sharks. Now, I'm going to be very critical of the Sharks here, but, I mean, 14-12. Now, I don't want to take nothing away from the Bulldogs at all, guys, but I will be, everything I will say, I will back up with stats. The Sharks were just purely awful, and they had no energy from start to finish. There was no effort. They rocked up with a mentality, we're versing the Bulldogs. They've already lost 4 in a row, I think it was, 3 in a row. We'll win this. Now, it really was awful. I mean, Moylan and Sean Johnson combined for 8 errors. Those pair need a rocket up their backside because Will Kennedy, Braden Trindle, and Kyle Flanagan, the Sharks have a really good young crop of players that are ready there. Now, let's get into the stats, guys. I will back up with what I've just said there. This is in regards to the Bulldogs. So they had over 20 more runs than the Sharks, but they had less meters. They had less tackle breaks. They only had 93 kick return meters. Usually you get that from more than, your winger will get that alone. So very poor there. They had a 1 second slower play the ball at 4 seconds, and they had a lower kick defusal percentage. Now, majority of the stats here do show this was the Sharks playing terrible as opposed to the Bulldogs playing out of their skins. But what I will say for the Bulldogs, their defense needs to be commended. They were brave and they hung in there. And in the end, they did deserve to win. All things aside, it's not their fault the bloody Sharks turned up and put on a horror show. They deserved to win. Then their defense was awesome. Man of the match, I'll go with Michael Leisha in his return to first grade. 53 tackles. Now, this game was won on defense. Purely, they didn't score a try after like the 27th minute. So Leisha topping the tackle count there thoroughly deserves man of the match in my opinion. Let's go into my Sharks. I like Jack Williams starting at prop. I think he tried hard for the entire game and he almost raced away to score that winning try. Just got ran down in the last 10 meters there. And for the Dogs, as I said, I love their effort on defense, but they did have 20 offloads. That didn't translate to points, guys, but it will eventually. And it's good to see that the effort is there and they are hungry to sort of try to turn this around and try something new, guys. Now, that is Clarkey's wrap-up for the round that was. Hopefully you're still here and hopefully you did enjoy some of the points I brought up and some of the stats, etc. I don't know if you did, but I hope you did. I had a lot of fun recording this today, guys, and tomorrow I will be back again with my tipping video. Don't follow the tips, guys. They are terrible, but I do try to name the tips based off form, stats, etc., etc. But as we know, rugby league is unpredictable. One thing that's not unpredictable, guys, is my video schedule. Monday is the video that you've just watched. Tuesday is the tipping video. And Wednesday is the Set of 6 podcast with NRL, my opinion. I hope to see you there for all the videos this week because I am back and ready to rip in after my holiday. So thanks so much for watching, guys. It does mean the world having your support. And as I said, if you want to bring up anything in the comments section, I will do my best to reply. So cheers, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow for my tips.